You're listening to the Reachcast Show, your weekly stop for the latest and greatest in the Planetside 2 universe and its community.
Welcome, everybody. It is January 28th, and you are listening to episode 18 of the Reachcast Show, your weekly stop for the latest and greatest in Planetside 2 and its universe and its community. Since I just botched that, I am your host, Torkz. With me tonight is Noxx and Deringer.
What's up?
Hey, everybody.
As always, we are brought to you by the Imperial Reach outfit at imperialreach.com. Your friendly, 18 plus TR outfit on Watterson. Check us out if you're looking for some organized operations and some good times. We got a lot going on tonight. It's been a very busy Planetside 2 week, more than usual, and we'll go right into the show. You guys will find out soon enough. So, Deringer, what do we have in store new for the show?
Well, we got a couple little points that we want to go over, a little housekeeping before we dive into the patch notes. Our
Take a dive. You gonna dive, man? Dive right in.
You're going to get me on that every time.
I know, I am. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to have to start censoring myself so I stop saying the word dive.
I'll start using it here soon enough, don't worry.
That's fine.
Right.
Well, anyways, like I said, a little bit of housekeeping. First off, we are launching an official Reachcast t-shirt campaign. We're using a third-party site called Teespring. So teespring.com. We've got three different t-shirts up, one for each faction color. So we've got a Terran Republic, a New Conglomerate, and a Vanu Sovereignty. And right now we're looking to charge $15 a t-shirt plus shipping, and it's all going to be processed through Teespring. And if anybody hasn't used Teespring before, they're kind of like Kickstarter just for t-shirts. So if we don't hit our campaign goals, the t-shirts don't get printed. So look for the links in this week's show notes and get on over there. And if you're looking for a t-shirt, put in for one of our awesome t-shirts. I know all three of us are going to be ordering ones.
Are we not allowed to say what our campaign goal is?
He already did. He said it was 20 shirts of each color.
Yeah, I didn't say what it was, but I didn't say. But yes, our goal is to sell 20 shirts of each color.
Or more.
You'll see
more.
when you go there.
Yeah, and we need your help, guys. So if you're a fan of the show, head on over. Purchase a shirt.
They're pretty good looking shirt. They're nice and plain. They're not obnoxious. I don't like obnoxious shirts.
They're also separated by colors. So if one campaign for one color succeeds, all three don't have to. So if TR, if your campaign succeeds and the other two don't, it is what it is.
We've got the
representation here.
Yeah, we have the campaigns running for 3 weeks. So we will give you guys updates as we go along. So if my Vanu Sovereignty brothers and sisters are lagging behind, I will call you out, so get ready. Our second piece of housekeeping is we have a new email and phone number. So if you're looking to get in touch with us, send us emails at reachcastshow@gmail.com. And our brand spanking new phone number is 415-78-REACH. So again, 415-787-3224. Start using that if you're looking to send in voicemails or comments to us. As always, we appreciate those phone calls. Noxx gets giddy.
I do. I love phone calls.
You can also record MP3s and send them in via the email, or you can...
Yeah, but that's not part of our housekeeping. You'll get to that at the end of the show.
I will. Good call. You want to dive into something?
Let's take the plunge and do some patch updates.
I'm going to get these mosquitoes in the air and rain down some hellfires on those fools. Oh no! What the f***? I should have listened to the Reachcast patch notes.
I think I'm going to take a belly flop into this one. On 122, we had a patch. There are a number of server and client stability optimizations that have been made. The heavy assault shield also should now work after respawning. I guess it was breaking. I never had that issue. The deployment. Oh, really?
Yes.
I never had the jump jet thing. Maybe I'm just lucky.
Yeah, the jump jet thing has been resolved now, though. I've yet to see it happen since
in the past,
that third fix.
Like in the past, I had it happen once, and it was just plaguing everybody. And I was like,
there was nothing worse than defending a spawn point and then running out of the spawn point and hitting F and your shield not popping on.
Yeah,
very annoying.
Oh, I could totally see it being annoying. It just never had it happen. So, excuse me. All right. So we also have the deployment screen now features top defensive locations on the continent as respawn points. Instant action will also send players to areas with more combat, and new players will now be placed at a spawn point in a battle instead of being drop podded in. And I think, Mark, you had some experience with that one, yes?
Yeah, I created a new character on Connery to play with one of the outfits that we're going to be interviewing in the next few weeks, and that I didn't get drop potted in, and I was a little surprised because I'd forgotten that it was in the patch notes. But all of a sudden, I spawned at a base, and I thought, oh wow, I don't have to be light assault anymore because there's a terminal right there, and I can grab whatever I need. And I think it's a good change because now the biggest complaint of people is they get drop potted in and get killed immediately. You can't get killed immediately because you're in a safe zone, and I thought that was good.
And with the improved spawn points coming up soon, that should be much nicer.
Coming up soon, Wednesday. Oh, I can't wait.
Quite soon indeed.
Well, the second half of the 122 patch had to do with Liberators and Galaxies, and maybe it sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but really we are, because every week it seems the Liberators get something else slapped onto them. But for these two aircraft, it's now easier to lock onto them with anti-air missiles. With the default, you can lock onto them 1 second faster. So normally for the ESFs, it takes 2.5 seconds for a lock. But now with the Liberators and Galaxies, it's only 1.5 seconds. In the grand scheme of things, that's kind of a huge drop in the ability to lock onto them. And just one more way that these poor Liberator pilots are getting brought back down to Earth. Also, lock-on rockets and missiles should now hit more frequently on Liberators and Galaxies, and they're a lot harder to dodge. And really, the only way that they want these lock-on weapons to be avoided are with flares, by forcing the missile to hit something else, by outrunning it, which requires you to be distant and burn a lot of fuel, and to have a very near miss, which should be very challenging for any type of pilot. What do you guys think about this change to the lock-on time?
I had a bit of experience with it after purchasing my grounder for half price. And I have to say, I didn't really notice.
No?
I mean, it's 1 second. It's not like it's an eternity. I guess you notice somewhat, but I was still able to lock onto anything just fine. And then watch my rocket go up and not kill them because
it takes too many.
Something else, yeah.
Well, when the sky is full of fighters and Liberators and Galaxies, all three, and you swing from side to side getting locks on, you really notice the difference when you're able to lock onto a Liberator compared to locking onto a fighter.
Yeah,
I'm certain it was mostly because I was paying less attention to that rather than just like talking to people.
We flew for a couple hours this week, or for several different nights. As a pilot, I didn't notice a drastic difference. I think it's definitely situational, but if you run into, I did notice where intelligent squads you get a lock on. It wouldn't just be one rocket. You would have, but that's not just from this change. You'll get down really quick by rockets, go like Half-Life in no time flat, with a couple of people locking onto you. So, little tip and trick, guys, don't lock on one at a time. Everybody lock on at once, blow them up.
Well, there was also a second patch last Friday where the big portion of the patch was just to add the double XP weekend that just recently ended. But another little addendum that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention is that the Ultimate Empire Showdown decals were changed to be account-wide on that same day. So not only can you have them on all of your characters of the same faction, but it also shows that they pretty much have the ability to make things account-wide already in place and can roll that out eventually. I wasn't as excited about the decals being account-wide as I was excited realizing that this means they're probably pretty close to having other things become account-wide.
And it's in the roadmap.
Well, I didn't want to say it's in the roadmap because we'll get there, but
we will get there.
We will get there. But that was all for patch notes this week. Overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of quiet. Obviously, next week, we will blow you up with patch notes after the January 30th patch. But why don't we move on to the community briefing?
Attention, soldiers! Get your butts in here for this week's community briefing.
Starting us off, we have a Planetside Universe, the site run by Hama and Jenny Boo, is running a fundraiser to help fund the site, and we are going to provide a link in the show notes. We fully support them and hope that they hit their goals, and we're going to try to do what we can to help that. So that's a real quick something on that. We always like to support the community. Obviously, it's a community briefing segment. We make a point of it. And there's Desmano on the forums. He also put this forum post in the notes, so check it out. He's running what he's calling the Great Race. It's a flash race, and it is going to be handling a certain amount of each faction that'll be in it. And there'll be gifts to be given away, and generally just a great community event to happen outside of just zerging to point and killing each other. So we'll put that in the show notes. Check it out. These are both two things we support as a podcast.
And if you question the idea of a flash race, I would strongly suggest trying it, because doing sorts of things like this and not playing seriously all the time make the game very fun. And that is my only advice to that. I guess I shall move on to the next topic, though.
Why don't you dive into it?
I'm going to go ahead and do a swan dive on this one.
It's going to be an ongoing theme, isn't it? This is going to be like jackknife this one or all.
Yeah, the next one, I'm debating doing a jackknife or a cannonball. I haven't decided yet.
You're a regular Greg Louganis.
Maybe I'll do like a triple somersault mega dive. I don't know.
Start looking up like Olympic. Never mind.
Olympic dive names.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know the figure skating ones. Like
my next new conglomerate tune is going to be that. My next new conglomerate character is going to be called Michael Phelps.
He's not a diver. You can make your name a diver. Anyway,
he dive into the pool to start the swim meet, doesn't he?
All right, come on. Let's go.
If you guys are going to get me on this and everyone, I'm going to get right back.
All right, well, we're going back. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about real things. AuraxiusStation.com is a certification builder website. It's made by a dude called Wired Messiah on the forums. And it's interesting. It's still in its baby phases, but I like where it could go. Is basically you go through the different classes, the different vehicles, and build out your player's build, basically, by clicking on the various certs that you've spent. You can limit how many certs you have by saying you're level 10. It reminds me a bit of Wowhead and its talent tree builder. And one thing I wonder about it is like what used to does it have in this game, because there's not really like a tweaking of a talent tree, but it's still pretty cool, and you can go ahead and use that to maybe build some, like, here, if you're playing brand new level 10, like, here's what I suggest doing sort of stuff. So it's a pretty nifty site. I'd say check it out.
My only complaint, and if I can jump in if that's okay.
No, you can go ahead.
My only complaint regarding it is that it doesn't take into account if you have spent certs on weapons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the only thing that I saw. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty nifty site, and I love how you can set your battle rank and see how many certs you should have at that particular rank, and then start building things out. But again, if you spend 1,000 certs on one of the high end weapons, it really doesn't take that into effect. I don't know if that's something he's going to code in the future.
Yeah. Oh, well, he said it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I talked to him in a private message in the forums. He said it's a work in progress, and he hopes it can turn into something useful. I just thought of something really useful for it. Say, like, I'm level 44 on my Terran character, and I'm 23 on my NC. So I could say, all right, well, what level do I need to be if I want to get this stuff? Like, it kind of gives you more of a, rather than I need to save up 10,000 certs, you could maybe go, well, once I get to this level, if I don't spend my things incorrectly, I should be able to have this stuff. That's a different way, I guess. We'll figure things out as they go along. It's pretty cool, though. I think it has potential. So I wanted to give a shout out for that.
Expanding on that, I'd like to be able to go through and make a loadout, like you just said, and then have it automatically tell me what battle rank I need to be and how many certs I need to get to that point.
That's not bad either, yeah.
Because right now, if you set yourself to battle rank 1, obviously you have 0 certs, and you can't click through and start hitting all the different things. So I think if it totaled up that way as well as totaling down like it does, that might not be a bad idea as well. But I think what we're trying to get at is we definitely support this site regardless.
Yes, most definitely. We'll go ahead and go to the next topic, unless Torkz has something to say about it.
I think anything that... Obviously, the guy put some work into this, and it's nice to see people in the community put work into something that they have some, they enjoy. So that's all I have to say. I like the site. I like your guys' input ideas for it. I didn't QA it that much, so I don't have much to say aside from that.
Alrighty. So the next thing is a video tutorial that I found fairly useful. I did a audio tutorial on one of the older episodes. I want to say like 4 or 5 maybe, pretty early in the show, where I described my what is the right word? My methodology to setting your mouse sensitivity and becoming better at FPS. And this video is by a guy who does the same thing, whose name I forgot to write down here. But he does it video style and kind of shows you visually what you're looking for when you're trying to do this sort of thing. And I actually really liked the video. I agreed with pretty much everything he said. He prefers playing where a sweep across the mouse pad is 360 degrees of your player's vision, and I am a 180 degree person. So, there's different options. Like, you could do 90 degrees if you really want, but it's pretty good video. It shows you what you're trying to see, whereas I can't do that in audio. So I really like this video, and I think you guys should check it out if you're wanting to play around with your sensitivity and work it. He does rant a little bit at the beginning, so maybe skip a couple minutes in.
His forum name is Matty, Matti, and it looks like his in-game name is probably Matty Ace.
Yeah, I just opened it to look. Thank you. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch this video, but it sounds like, from what you're saying, that I probably should get over there and start watching it.
I think it really gives you a good idea of what when I say like when you're over aiming a target or under aiming a target, like it basically shows you what that means, and that's what I really like about it. So
obviously we talked about it a little before the show, but listening to you describe it to our listeners, I consider you, Noxx, to be a pretty darn good FPS player. Just from my experience with you, listening to everything that you say, all your experiences in the past, and just from you just now saying that you think it's a good video and you actually learned a couple things out of it, that tells me that I need to get over there and watch it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I actually played around with my sensitivity after watching it, so... And I did one of the tricks that he did, and I actually was like, oh, okay. So it just teaches you, like, even if you practice the trick he did in the video, like, it gives you a bit of muscle memory, which is a big part of FPS too. So I'd suggest looking at it. Let's move on, though. We don't need to linger too long on that.
Next up, we wanted to just quickly highlight that Sony and Planetside 2 have signed a year-long collaboration with Major League Gaming, and this sounds like their first step to bringing Planetside 2 to the esports community. And they specifically say that over the next few months, Planetside 2 and the MLG teams will work closely to develop ideal competitive gameplay features and settings to showcase the MMO FPS that is Planetside 2. It sounds pretty exciting for people who are into esports. I imagine
like it.
Tom will have a new Twitch stream to watch every day.
I like this. I think it's a good idea to team up with them so they can provide some. As long as they're open to criticism, I think it's solid. I really like it, and I think that combined with having Jimmy on their team, if they take his input too, which it sounds like they have been for some of the spawn room ideas.
Well, obviously MLG is the number one in the esports world. Or at least the name that most people have heard of. So it's very smart of them to sign on with a group like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if it was them, but no, I think it was CPL that ended up they got into it with Valve over Counter-Strike Source way back in the day. And they're like, we're just not going to feature your game if you don't do this. So I'm wondering if some of those same people involved in that sort of thing are involved in this. But I think it could really lead to a positive competitive environment. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that.
Well, there's an interesting little press release. We'll link to that in this week's show, and our listeners can go out and read the full details of it all on their own and make their own, get their own impressions out of that.
Yeah. Now, Torkz has been silent for a while.
I know. I was just about to say, Torkz, do you have anything to say about MLG and SOE?
You don't know if he's gone to the bathroom or something.
No, I'm definitely here.
He's working the magic behind the scenes. What you guys don't know is he's pushing so many buttons just to make the show stay strong the way it is.
Yeah, it's like they're talking on the front of the ship, and I'm running like the
He's like the
rudder
puppet
and,
master. He's making Noxx and I dance.
I really like the teaming they're doing with MLG. I really want to see a hard document or a hard explanation from them of how they're going to implement competitive gameplay in this game. I see no conventional way of it being done with the current map setup. There's going to have to be some sort of arena or some sort of separate server.
Well, otherwise you get the invasion of public players, basically.
Well, exactly. You can't have a competitive atmosphere if you have 100 Zerg just pile in on top of you. You get where I'm going with this, and that's why I was kind of being quiet. I was thinking through what I would want to say, and I hope that they find a way to bring that massive scale, because that's what that's the signature of Planetside, but be able to do it in a way where it's not being ruined as well. So. Well,
that's a good point, because you don't want to limit it to one squad, because that's so micro in a game that's all about macro, basically. And then you don't want to bring in too many people, or it just becomes too chaotic to really get into the spirit of competitive gameplay, where but player skill can really shine.
I might be totally incorrect on this, but this is my theory. So I'm seeing a lot of the stuff on the roadmap about outfit leveling, outfit competitions, outfit this, outfit that. If I had to take a guess, I'm assuming they're targeting 48-man competitive gameplay. And
oh yeah, I was just saying
48-man times 3.
So that'd be too big.
That's too big, but
well, they'd have to cover all 3 factions. So
no, we're talking
about full platoon.
Yes.
You could still have 1v1 and then have it like tournament style, but it'll be interesting. I really honestly, I don't think anyone has a good idea of what this means yet.
No.
I'm just certain people have ideas, but I think at this point they're probably still just ideas.
I think you're
Again, the good thing is they've teamed up with the right people as far as we're concerned.
Yeah. So, are we done with that topic?
Yeah.
Upward and onward.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the Ultimate Empire Showdown, which I watched a bit of live. I think you guys were probably busy though that night.
Yeah, we were busy playing.
Oh,
Since it was our ops night.
It was our ops night. I started watching it before we started playing, and I was watching it during, which made me absolutely worthless in the ops. But the stream was laggy, really, really laggy, and I took this as a good thing because at one point there were 15,000 viewers and chat was just exploding, and it was really annoying. And eventually they limited it down to just subscribed Twitch users to be able to chat, which was basically the ops and Planetside people at that point, like devs. But it was very, very laggy at the beginning, and once our ops started getting a little crazier, I stopped watching because we were doing that, and it was still kind of laggy. But Total Biscuit stole the show in my mind when they introduced the faction leaders. So they went through what's his name, T-Ray and Level Cap and Cnanners and Clegg, and then they went to Total Biscuit and Jimmy, and Total Biscuit annihilated everyone with this total showmanship performance, and you can't even find it now. We spent several minutes looking for this thing, and it would be at the end of the first video of Ultimate Empire Showdown, and it just chops off, and then the next video doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I wanted to hear what he had to say, because you're right, he's a showman.
Oh, it's he like not just like what he said, but like his whole body language. He like takes his glasses off slowly and is like, "I am Total Biscuit," in his accent, and it was he just went on this like really long description. And the girl doing the interview was just like, wow, I didn't expect that. That was, and he got the whole Terran player base to start. They did like this chant too. It was hilarious. They did this like Spartan, like, whoa, like in the background. It was pretty funny. So, he stole that show, player introduction. It was pretty awesome. I hope that video turns up somewhere. Moving on along, though, with the Ultimate Empire Showdown, the Vanu kicked the living crap out of everybody, basically, across all the servers. What do we have here? It says they won all 3 events on 6 of 7 servers in the EU. And we have an image. You know what? I think I'm going to use that image as our title.
That's a good idea.
But as on this forum thread. But Maggie was talking about, like, oh, go Vanu on Twitter. And I was like, you do realize that if the Vanu just tear everyone up across the board, you're giving everyone ammo for the fact that they need a nerf. And so we'll see. We'll see.
And
well, they've already, I mean, Higby responded today, being the 28th, that the Vanguard and the Prowler are getting a buff in this next patch. He confirmed it. So it's a start.
It is. I mean, the NC swept one server and the TR didn't sweep a single server.
Yeah.
And
all those people crying that NC are underpowered or not good, they did better than the TR.
Yeah, they actually won more events
than the TR. Yeah. I was shocked. Being the Vanu player, I was still shocked that Vanu took so many of the events. Now, I think we should mention the one caveat that the second server event was to hold the Bastion, and the consensus is the Bastion is Vanu territory anyways, so they had a much easier time winning.
Well, and if they did well in the first event, too, it made the second event much easier as well, because the map wasn't reset.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they could have made some changes and Vanu might not have come out on top as easy, but you're right, they overwhelmingly curb stomped everybody.
You know, I honestly, like, playing all 3 factions, like, I figured that outfit and player coordination would matter more than anything I believe to be overpowered or underpowered, and I honestly thought it would come out much closer than it did.
Well, the other thing to realize is that you can only get so many people on a continent, too. I mean, as an example, Imperial Reach, we didn't even bother going and participating because we couldn't get our entire outfit onto the continent to play at the same time.
Well, it's still maxed at 33% for each.
Right.
So same number of players. But yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you have, like, where I consider us Imperial Reach a fairly well-coordinated outfit, and who knows if a bunch of other servers had other fairly well-coordinated outfits that didn't do it because they didn't feel like cutting some players out because they weren't subscribers because there was a 3-hour queue time or something.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Torkz, anything to add to the UES before we move on to the largest topic of the night?
I have some credit. My only comment about that is I hope that they do it differently next time. I don't really like the way it was orchestrated. Not the social interaction. All the social stuff is great. You know, they got people in. Everybody got excited about their factions. That's great.
A lot of trash talk.
Yeah, I mean that always helps. You know, it's always cool to represent and start some competition. I'm down for that. I'm not fond of. The game doesn't lend itself well to the way they did it, in my opinion, because you already are taking into account, well, they moved to a continent that's already fully possessed by one faction. It puts the other two at such a large disadvantage to even be able to. You get where I'm going.
Yeah, they should have reset it before it even started.
Yeah, I think that this was better than their attempt at the. What was that called?
Are you talking about the thing that Delrith won?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
SOE Live.
Hands down, better run than that. But
yeah, I mean, I think the idea is much better, and I can't imagine. It must be really hard to try to coordinate some sort of event like this in a game that's live, and you're trying to participate the entire community. I think it's a great idea to involve the community, but it's got to be really hard to be able to do that. I think this is much better than that, but I think there's still some work they could do to streamline making it more even. But that's my only comment. I don't want to labor on it, so go ahead.
Well, I think that's it. Now we can move on to the elephant in the room. We've mentioned it a few times tonight, but Sony, earlier in the day before the Ultimate Empire Showdown, they released their 6-month roadmap. And there's a lot of stuff in here. And I don't think that we can do it justice by trying to cover it all in one show. So we're definitely going to break it up a little bit with these next couple shows that we do. But we're definitely going to talk a bit about January today because obviously that patch is going to be hitting in a few days.
And there are some new changes there that weren't brought up in previous previews.
So I know you got a lot to say on this, Noxx. Do you want to jump in first? Well, I mean, you do. You've got a lot of opinions regarding this, and I think that Torkz and I kind of bounce off your opinions and really just do an overarching overview of the roadmap itself before we actually dive in to January itself.
Well, do you want to explain what the roadmap is first, or do you want me to do that as I give my opinions?
Well, the roadmap is basically a new way for people to interact with the development team. So you can provide feedback directly on game direction, updates, and content, and they want you to be part of the development process. So what they've done is they have all 6 months listed out in collapsible lists, and they have them all listed, and you can go in and vote basically thumbs up or thumbs down on each of them. And based on the number of thumbs up that they get a score, and they rank them by the higher the score, the higher up it is. And it sounds like the higher the score, the more they're going to push to get that implemented first. So it's really a voting system to make your voice heard on what you think are the important things that they should be the developers should be focusing on in a given month. Does that kind of sum it up the best way?
Yeah, I wanted you to do it because I would have gone on a rampage midway through. Well, not a rampage, but I do have my concerns with this. And part of my concerns is the voting process. I believe you found there's confirmation from Higby on Twitter today saying that upcoming scores will affect upcoming changes. Even
he said today on Twitter, we are evaluating pulling some changes from the upcoming patch due to feedback from roadmap.
So, well, I guess feedback could mean comments, not just votes.
Yeah, I think it's just votes. Because I mean when items get a score, I mean, there's some things with a score of 0, and that means they've got more thumbs down than thumbs up.
That means they're really negative.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to spend their time working on something like that that's been thumbs down so much.
No, and well, also some of the bigger ones have had some very valid points made against them too, or against aspects of them. Not the whole thing itself, but against the aspect of it, or like a single bullet point to that particular change. And so I think they're going to be utilizing the comments people make, not just voting. But in terms of pulling the entire concept, I think that probably is based mostly on votes. So one of my concerns, one thing, I really like this. I really like that they're open about what they're going to provide to players in the future of this game, what they're aiming to make, and letting players tell them how much they want that. I think it's a really cool thing. The thing that I don't like about that is exactly what we were just talking about, is the idea of pulling something because it's not being received well by the majority of players. And some of my concerns here involve just the concept of internet trolling. Is you can have an entire group of people, let's say the goons, who are infamous on games like Eve, decide they all don't like one of these things and all downvote it, and then the devs pull it from the game thinking that no one likes it. Because none of these, the goons in some games consist of a couple thousand players. None of these things have 2,000 votes could swing a lot of these pretty drastically. Like, I can look at some of these, and 2,000 would put it from like a score of 400 to 0, basically. And so that I don't like. And then some of the things too are really, I just feel like something like here, one example I have is the orbital strike. It has a fairly low score.
It had 0 yesterday. It's up to 75 today.
I'm seeing 74, but I haven't refreshed. But this is something that a lot of veteran players have been calling out for. And veteran players, I mean Planetside 1 players. And it's something that it's an anti-Zerg tool from what I understand about it. And I bet you a lot of these people downvoting it, they're saying, oh, I don't want one person to be able to get all the kills, blah, 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 blah. Like, but they're the same people crying about Zergs overrunning them. So I don't think people are seeing the logic here, and I think they think that Orbital Strike means just everyone's going to have Orbital Strike, and that's going to be the only thing existing in the game. And I don't expect that to be what Orbital Strike is. And so I don't like that something that veteran Planetside players really would like to see is so low on the score that it might get pulled.
It's actually dropped in score down to 72 since we looked at it earlier tonight.
Okay.
So I think taking it back to the beginning of what you were saying, I wonder if I wish that Sony had made it more clear what your votes would really do when they put this up. You can say vote on this, but that doesn't mean anything to the player base unless you explain your vote equals this. Your vote equals, if it gets to 0 and more downvotes, it won't be implemented. I'm wondering if I'll speak for myself. When I look at this, I read through these pretty extensively. I'm wondering, I want to downvote and upvote things. There are certain things that I would like to have more priority over others, but that doesn't mean I don't want the other things implemented. And I'm wondering if people downvote them simply to say, I don't want this to be the top priority. Doesn't necessarily mean they don't want them implemented. I'm wondering if there's a communication breakdown there where Sony thinks, okay, it's more downvotes. They don't want it implemented at all. But there's no one saying, maybe the player base is saying, well, we just don't want a priority. But, you know, I'm sure they're looking at more than just the votes, or at least I am strongly hoping that they are.
Oh, I'm positive they're reading the comments, but
Yeah, they definitely are. They have to be. It wouldn't be the experience that we've had with the devs in the past to say that they're not reading all the comments and not making blind decisions.
That being
just based
said,
on a
too, is
score.
if you like a comment, also upvote or downvote a comment if you like or dislike it, because that's functioning similar to Reddit, I believe, where the really high commented, the really liked comment is going to be the top displayed comment of that particular topic. So if you write a comment, it's going to be somewhere hidden in this mess unless a bunch of people upvote it. And so if you see an idea you like, upvote it or feedback rather, because they'll be more prone to read that, I believe, because some of these are just blown up. There's a lot of comments. And while I think they're going to read a lot of them, they can't read all of them.
Well, I think it's somebody's job to read all of them.
That could be. And you know what?
Summarize them, you know?
Yeah. So, besides just the voting aspect of it, my other concern, too, is one particular thing I looked for is when I first saw this, I got home, and I immediately was looking for metagame changes. Things that poked out to me as metagame changes, because I really want to see... I really think there have been a lot of good ideas from the community that would not necessarily are at their final stages of ideas, but they spark other ideas, basically. And I think that the developers have mentioned good ideas for metagame, like the mining resource one. And I don't see a lot of metagame in here that's what I want to see. And I love the game. I'm still going to play it because I have a lot of fun playing it. That's what the game's for. But if I'm a sort of player where I'm kind of getting bored of this game and not wanting to play it, I'm going to look at this and go, well, let's see if I'm going to want to play it after March is done or after April's done because they implemented something that I really want to see. Well, when you're this open, you also have the negative of player goes, well, I know I'm not playing this for the next 6 months because there's nothing that I want to see being done. So I think that's a negative to this, and I'm certain they've considered that. But I personally think I was really wishing there'd be more metagame. Now, there are some really good metagame things, don't get me wrong. There's some really good metagame things in the later months. So if you listen to this and don't actually read it, I'm not saying there's no metagame. There's definitely some metagame changes coming, so...
Why don't we check out the stuff in January?
Well, I was going to say... That's a good point. If you are just listening to this and not reading it, you're doing yourself a disservice by not going over to the page and voicing your opinion on these features. So get over there and do it. It's important. This is your game too, guys, so get on over there. But like you said, let's move into some of the January topics. Now, I know we did a pretty lengthy diatribe on Higby's post when he talked about a lot of these things, but tonight we just wanted to go over some of the newer ones that maybe hadn't shown up in previous notes, things like that. That's right, guys?
Indeed, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So the first one was rendering distance based on threat, and that's a little different than anything that we've seen before. And basically, they want to mitigate the impact of the render distance on enemies that are a direct threat. So, for example, anyone that pilots air vehicles, they can attest how it sucks to get shot down by AA players that didn't render because of the distance involved, and they really want to make sure that that doesn't happen. They haven't really talked about that in the past, so that was good to see that that's in the January list. And actually, it's the number 2 one on the list right now. So that's it's good to hear that that one's going to be
render
in there.
distance has been they've said it, but they never said that it was going to be a part of this month's patch.
Right. Next up, they have a post on tower redesign. Now, this sounds like it's going to mimic exactly the same as the spawn rune design, but we just thought it was worth mentioning because I haven't heard that they were going to be doing a tower redesign at all in any of the other notes. So again, that's another one that's ranked pretty high up there as coming with the January patch.
I think Clegg made a small mention of it when we were interviewing him.
I think you're right. He might have mentioned it in passing that towers were getting a once-over in addition to the spawn rooms.
Well, seeing as their spawn rooms, I kind of assumed that they'd be getting changed. But if you look at the actual note, it says they're trying to make it so it's also not just, I imagine, changing the exits, but they're also making it harder to camp. Or that's just what they mean. But since changing that's probably a lot harder than one little tiny room that became one very large, cool-looking room.
The rendering distance is going to make one of the biggest effects on the game for January. That's, in my opinion, it's one of the biggest calls from the community we've heard time and time again. Help me out with the render distance, guys. Come on, help me out with the render distance. And I'm glad it's going to be in there. I don't have too much more to say about that one.
I could see, I'm just thinking, like, I could see this going south very quickly if you're based. I'm thinking playing an infiltrator, I'm trying to figure out, all right, what's the highest threat to me as an infiltrator? I suppose the guy's close to me, and then another infiltrator off in the distance, because that's one big complaint infiltrators has, is they'll get killed over and over by a guy they never render. And that time you're killing a guy over and over, you're like, why isn't he shooting me? It's probably because he doesn't see you. Well, I'm wondering if they're going to do that, but then I'm hoping they don't forget about the heavy assault that put a 6x scope on his rifle, starts sniping people, knowing that he's not going to get rendered anymore on single shot. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if it'll be exploitable almost.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I'll test it out. I'll tell you if it's exploitable or not.
Well, the next one we wanted to go over was it changed the experience source display improvements. And basically they're talking about having a small pop-up next to your cert point display that would add different elements like a pop bonus, membership bonus, defense bonus, squad boosts, and personal boosts, just to give you a little extra info on how the bonus experience that you're getting awarded is calculated.
I'm all for this one.
I think it's a bit of a mystery to newer players that aren't used to the numbers that pop up.
I think we have too much of this. If you're new to the game, and I have nothing against new players. New players are what keeps this game alive, and I'm happy for you guys. The problem is, and I've heard this directly said to me, well, why would I stay here, or why would I do this if I can just get those points from the next base? And that's exactly the mentality that I hope this helps with. Because that is, having a strategic battle in the end is far more fun than just ghost capping from base to base. And I think when people get enthralled and wrapped up in the point of the game, which is large scale combat, you might see people's retention rise.
Well, defending, a lot of people are like, they said you get the defense bonus, but it honestly, it never was very clear, like, that you're getting defense bonus at this particular time. And I think that's a big one that this little pop-up will help with.
Agreed. Next up, window plugs. Basically, they're talking about making all windows across all bases and facilities smaller so that it will be harder for tanks and planes to shoot into buildings. I am all for this one when I'm on the receiving end of a tank shell. When I'm in my tank, I don't know that I like this one.
I think most players will share that opinion.
Yeah. And rounding up the new items for January was they're talking about creating no deploy zones for AMS Sunderers. And it's basically adding a new mechanic to the game so designers can designate areas within a base or facility that a Sunderer cannot deploy in. And they originally thought this up because they wanted to stop Sunderers from deploying in tower vehicle bays because they feel that that's a problematic area. Now, I don't know that we really have to worry about this one too much because it still has a score of 0 and a lot of comments on it. I think a lot of people are really against no deploy zones for AMS Sunders. I know I am. I mean, I love the fact that you can drive a Sunderer into the bottom of a tower and deploy it.
Despite my little rant about how I dislike player feedback, this is one where it's really good. I really don't like this. I think having to defend the inside of a tower from a Sunderer is an aspect of the game that involves playing defense properly. Like, why make it... Well, and then at the same time, you are forcing players to expose their Sunderers to air and whatnot. And I think, it's risky to go in there, but if you can go in there and take it, by all means. I've tried going into those towers plenty of times and just get annihilated instantly because players play to stop that from happening. So I'm wondering if they are more wondering about it messing up spawning of vehicles when it's already in there because they're partially on the pads. I don't know.
I think they probably get some complaints here and there about people spawning on top of them, blowing them up when they spawn other vehicles.
Yeah, but that is a problem too. Yeah.
Aside from that, and
make it if you deploy your AMS in the middle of a vehicle pad and the enemy spawns a vehicle on it, have it blow up the Sunderer. Take care of that.
Well, that's what he's talking about. It would just you would have your Sunderer touching the vehicle pad, and a friendly would spawn something and blow your Sunderer up by just spawning it. I actually noticed that kind of went away, and tanks start ending up on their ends and not being able to drive because they're up on one end because it's on top of the Sunderer. I don't know. I kind of wish this meant no more mana turrets on the vehicle pads because that drives me insane. I hope they just sneak that one in. I got really mad about that the other day.
Well, should we go on to our new little feature?
Absolutely. I think we should. Got a segue question for the community. Now, to preface this before Tom asks it, or Noxx asks it, the concept here was we speak a lot about our opinions on these things, but this show is supposed to be about your guys' involvement as well. So we are going to give you, the community or the listening base, a weekly question. You can contact us, the myriad of ways that we give you at the end of the show: email, call, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to do.
Well, and one thing I want to do is when our new site goes live, I want to try and implement some of this into the forums too.
Yeah, that too. But anyways, Noxx, go ahead with the question. But that's the concept, guys. Feel free. We're asking you this question. We want you to respond to us, and we would like to include your feedback in the show. So the developers can hear it in a format other than the forums. But I'm not saying don't get on the forums, give your feedback. I'm saying do that, but do this as well. Make yourself heard so that you can help and we can help better this game.
And I personally like hearing other ideas because it can point out a flaw in my idea or help me think of another idea based on your idea. So here's the question. It's fairly broad, but what is your favorite roadmap topic? So tell us that, and then that's basically it. Pretty simple.
I think this will give you guys, take the topics they have. If you want to alter them in any way, shape, or form, we're not trying to say pick one of the things in the roadmap and just tell us your opinion. You can expand it any way you'd like. That's the idea. It's an open-ended topic. But we will go on to Reachcast Bug Report.
Is this going to be a stand-up fight, sir, or another bug hunt?
It's a bug hunt. What exactly are we dealing with here?
Reachcast Bug Report. An oldie but a goodie. All right. So one of the current bugs that you can see YouTube videos for and people exploiting is a repair tool bug. Now, what we've seen in the YouTube videos is people will find ways to glitch their utility tool and then get inside their vehicle. What this will effectively do is So in one video, as an example, you get in a scythe after glitching your repair tool, and while you're flying and you get shot, your scythe auto repairs. You can see.
No way.
Yes way.
You can watch.
I actually didn't read this because it's a big paragraph here in the notes, but that's hilarious.
So the video displays a person tailing a scythe and letting loose, I don't know, 13 or 14 minutes straight, different, basically emptying his clip on this scythe, and the scythe taking damage, and the scythe healing in air. The scythe taking damage, scythe healing to full.
But more quickly than nanite repair.
Yeah, not the nanite repairs.
Not nanite repair, no.
Because a nanite repair has a delay of
faster.
not taking damage before it even kicks in.
Yeah, like exiting combat, basically.
This was instantaneous.
Oh
So-
my goodness.
The Matt Higbee, the creative director for the game, came on Twitter today and specifically asked the community, find these people, tell us about these people, let us kick these people. So we are passing that word along. You see this? Report them. Get them kicked.
Even if it's one of your outfit mates, or convince them to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first suggestion, aside from just reporting an outfit mate or a friend, is explain what they're doing to the game by doing this. If they can't understand that, or too immature, or too much of if they can't understand that, just report them.
Before that, go to their outfit officer.
Or yeah, go to the officers of the outfit.
And then after the officer kicks them, then report them.
Yeah.
We should probably get to how to actually fix this if you experience this and you don't intend to. I think you, Deringer, you said that you found a way, you had seen that they listed a way, right?
Yeah, the people in game suggested that if you encounter this bug, whether you cause it accidentally or if your gunner, if you're in a multi-player vehicle, caused it, is to first exit your vehicle, swap your weapons, and then re-enter your vehicle. This is if you caused it, and that should take care of this from happening. If it doesn't, worst case scenario, deconstruct your vehicle. Granted, you'll have to suck up a spawn timer, but is that worth it more than getting banned for cheating?
Yeah, seriously. Small price to pay.
Yeah.
Did I read this correctly in that if someone else causes it, switching to their seat will stop it? Or am I misinterpreting that?
I don't know. That's a possibility.
Oh, I was just going to say, if that's the case and you have a Galaxy, 12 seats to go.
Everybody dies. Everybody dies on the ground because of the bug. Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we're disconnecting. We're deconstructing. Mid-flight.
At least get over your hot drop point and then deconstruct.
I'd just make them suffer. It'd be more fun.
We have next is our second whatever version of the segment, Stories from the Battlefield. A lot of feedback from you guys this week. A lot of feedback from you guys this week on multiple different fronts. And we'd like to say that we put some time into this. Deringer is going to read tonight. I'm going to read next week. And it's going to be, if you like it, if you continue to like it, we're thinking of ways to expand it. But without further ado, let's dive right in.
Next on the Reachcast Show.
When the second wave was coming, we didn't know if we were going to make it.
Tune in to learn about the untold stories that win battles and bring victory to wars.
We need reinforcements now!
Find out about the exciting turn of events.
This hole made you reach down deep, find something special.
See things that you will not
We
believe.
flip the Sunderer into overdrive and punch through the enemy lines.
Hear about heroic stories from each empire.
New conglomerate.
Terran Republic.
The new sovereignty.
Coming up next on Reachcast Stories from the Battlefield.
I'm going to try and be less nervous than Noxx was last week.
I was so nervous. I wouldn't be nervous at all. People liked it, apparently.
Yeah, they'll like yours. They're probably going to write and call in next week and say, Deringer, you suck.
Don't be such a negative Nancy.
Don't feel bad, Deringer. I mean, Noxx got a couple of calls bagging on him about it, so.
Oh, God.
We'll
I haven't heard these yet. I can't wait.
All right. Here we go. As the nanites reconstructed my body for the 15th time this grueling day, and I regained consciousness, I remembered a quote from my training days as a freshly recruited member of the Vanu Sovereignty. We would welcome our lost brothers and sisters, if only they would listen to reason. Clearly, today the juggernaut, that is the Terran Republic, has come to battle with earplugs. Shaking my head to clear the fog caused by the nanite reconstruction, I began to make out the voice of my squad leader barking orders to my squad mates. Prowlers, left side, Canyon Road. I quickly glance at my heads-up display and see we are defending Ceres Hydroponics again. What the Vanu Sovereignty grows here, I will never know, because I never stopped running long enough to investigate. As I take up position north of the vehicle spawn pad with my S1, I can hear the unmistakable rumble of the Prowler's engines. Scanning right and squinting, I can see TI alloys at the top of the hill, but I can't make out whether the Vanu hold the territory or not, because the Prowlers start to come in range. All around me, the trail of S1 rockets glow blue in the Indar sky, and after quickly setting my sights on the lead tank, I let loose my salvo as well. I score a direct hit, and in a panic, the driver reverses suddenly, slamming into the tank behind him. A cheer goes up over the comm channel as the Prowlers become trapped in the chaos caused by the lead tank, and wave after wave of S1 rockets slam into them, reducing the entire tank column to smoking hulks. Our relief at stopping the Terran Republic advance is short-lived when my squad leader's voice comes over the comm channel. New conglomerate Sunderer, coming in from the impact site. I chuckle to myself, double-check my S1. One plasma rocket left, locked and loaded. I sprint with my squad mates toward the rocky foothills south of Ceres Hydroponics and slide into cover just as the Sunderer's guns rake the area with fire. A few shots ricochet off my armor, but I'm able to shake off the pain and level my sights on the freshly deployed Sunderer. Before I can take the shot, I notice the unmistakable shimmer of an infiltrator uncloaking 50 yards to my right. I swing my S1 right as the squad mate to my left slumps over dead and let loose my last plasma rocket. The plasma trail burns the air as the rocket heads towards its target. The infiltrator, staring intently down his scope at his next target, was blinded as the rocket caught him full force in the face. Vanu smiles upon you.
Very nice.
I like
Very
it.
Nice. I like it. It was good.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that what was not mentioned in the story, there was some backstory to that, is the sniper's name was Swagulo 420 Dubstep.
I don't think he's a sniper.
He's also Terran Republic, buddy.
Yeah. This is clearly an NC.
Oh, well, he can switch. It happens. This is Swag 24, I can't remember the name now. Swag 420 Yellow Dubstep, whatever, NC at the end.
Yes, people get so creative with their names. I know every time I see someone that says Bloody Blah TR, I'm just like, ugh, worthless.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. I'm interested. Again, guys, we welcome the feedback, and we will talk more about this segment as we go on. We might alter it, might change it, might continue on the way it is. We'll see. But we are going to...
We're definitely going to do one each so you can mock us.
Yes. Minimum of one each. And
I've already got my next one written. I'm doing another.
Noxx has 200 pages written already, folks.
Oh, I'm not that crazy.
Audiobooks away. Okay, to the good, the bad, and the OP.
Have another drink on me, soldier.
Okay, thank you kindly.
If you can look hard enough past all the death and all the sorrow, there are good things. You must remember that we will overcome. The good, the bad, and the overpowered.
Doing my cannonball this time. My good is I haven't heard the feedback because Torkz has kept it hidden from me, but feedback, good or bad, I really like that people actually gave us some feedback on my tale of the battlefield last week. I like that. I don't care if it's bad. Like, I think it's fun that people actually responded, so I like that. My bad is Mag Riders. I went on a mega anti-Mag Rider rampage the other day because playing NC on Amerish, was it Amerish? Yeah, it was Amerish. And I was in the hills, barely able to navigate through the hills myself, trying to get behind these Mag Riders that are just floating around through the mountains willy-nilly without any issues whatsoever. And then the worst part is you'd sneak up behind them and hit them, and they would just shoot off the cliff with their mag burner, not taking any damage when they land at the bottom. Well, they're not like falling the whole way, but they're just shooting off the mountain face, flying down the hill, completely unhittable at this point. Don't take any damage. Don't flip over. Infuriated me. If I ever tried that in my Prowler, I would be flipping. The thing would blow up before I even made it to the bottom. Oh, they drive me insane. I had a really bad time against Mag Riders this week. Just after, of course, I'm saying, well, if you play them a lot, you can figure out their weaknesses. Not having fun.
Not much you can do about that. It's not a weakness you can really figure out.
I have been fine against them. I've had no complaints about Mag Riders other than the distance thing. I've had no complaints about Mag Riders. I run up behind them. I can get next to them. I abuse the fact that they're not on a turret and that they have to spin the whole damn vehicle. And I've had no issues. But up in the mountains, since I talked last week about not being able to play an Amerish very often. Well, I play an Amerish and they're all over the hills. You can't get to them. You have to go up one little path. They don't even have to look all around them. Ugh, so frustrating. That's my bad.
You jelly, bro?
You mad, bro?
You mad, bro? Yeah, I'm mad.
Yeah.
F you.
Okay, I'm going to start with my bad, I think, because my good is a little bit not super lengthy, but it's a little longer. My bad is the current state of tank mines. And I kind of lost my cool a couple times this week with this. Simply for the fact that I feel like tank mines are like upgraded C4 right now. You can place them on top of vehicles. You can place them around vehicles. You can place them anywhere you want, reactively, a stationary vehicle, and blow it up. One shot a tank, two shot a Sunday. It's not in my mind, tank mines, you put on the ground. Tank runs over, you have
to run over them.
Yeah, you run over, you blow up a tank. Fine. That's fine. Because it takes some proactive approach to intelligence on where to place it. It's such as that, and that makes that additional damage understandable. But in its current state, not good. It really bothers me because it's not the intention of it to work that way, and it does. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Tank mines are kind of a problem right now. They need to be fixed. They don't need to be nerfed. I don't mind their damage, but they need to be used in the way they're intended, and that needs to be forced. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Noxx. What'd you say?
No, I cut you off. It shouldn't blow up when it's on top of you.
Yeah, you should have to place it as intended, and that's fine. If you kill one shot with it after that, so be it. My good for the week, I had an experience in the game that kind of is the epitome of what one thing is great about this game to me, and two, people should try to lean towards because it makes experiences like this the game much more fun in general. It was either very late or very early, I don't remember. But it was a very small number of us at a biolab, say three or four TR, and when we initially salted it, it was 4 or 5 NC, And there was a battle back and forth. The NC kind of scurried out after that. Well, one guy stuck around and started making intelligent jumps back and forth between the points, taking out guys, or if we would move to one to stop the other guy, he would move to the one we're not at. So it prolonged the capture of the base a lot. So, I know it sounds irritating the way I'm explaining it, but it was intelligent. It was an intelligent approach to countering us without numbers. You can't just charge in there and kill everybody. It's not going to work. So we kind of played cat and mouse back and forth for about 15 minutes. Eventually, we traded kills back and forth. He killed me a couple times. I finally got him, etc. But then we just started chatting after that, since he can chat cross-faction. And he ended up coming over, playing some TR with me. I played some NC. It was a good experience. Don't enjoy the competition of the game. Don't turn it into personal attacks about people's mothers. About, I mean, it's like what cracks me up is that people just try to enjoy the competition of the game. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. It's not, no one's out to really grief you most of the time, and if they are, well, people will notice it. But try to enjoy the competition of it and get into it. Friendly competition over throwing insults because you can't kill somebody.
The most insults I've received have been from teammates. And all the communications I've had with enemy players have been friendly.
That's funny.
Some guy drove into me the other day, just drives into the side of my tank, doesn't stop, just keeps pushing me along. So after what felt like what would have been a quarter mile, I shot him just to make him stop. I was like, why aren't you stopping? I can't move. I can't get out of your way. So then he kills me. And I was like, why'd you do that? And he's like, why didn't you move? I'm like, do you not understand the mechanics of this game? And then he went on a huge, mega rampage against me. I can't blame him. I shot him. But it's like, come on, dude. You didn't even give me a chance to move. And then I've had other times where I would kill a guy by accident, and I'd mistype their name in my whisper to say sorry, and they'd kill me and get angry.
I forgot to mention his name. It's the Lonely Ninja. That was his name on NC side on Watterson. So shout out to you, man. But Deringer, you're next.
Well, my good this week is the fact that the Vanu won the Ultimate Empire Showdown server contest overwhelmingly.
Get out of here.
We roffle stomped you punks. Like you wouldn't believe. So they say Total Biscuit won. Whatever. Look at the scorecard and tell me who won for real. There's more purple there than anything else.
Overwhelming.
Overwhelmingly. My bad this week, I'm sure most people know we did an interview with Adam Clegg this past week. And in it, he made some comments regarding NC. They were kind of off-the-cuff comments. I don't know that he was 100% serious when he said them. But basically saying that NC were underpowered and the other factions were so much better when he played them. And a couple people took to the forums and didn't even mention us in the posts and basically said, a developer says it's true, NC need a buff. And if anything, the Ultimate Empire Showdown showed that that's probably not the case since, like we said, NC took more of the server contests than the TR did and things like that. But sometimes people need to just take a step back and realize that not everything that's being said is 100% true, and opinions are just opinions, not fact. That's just kind of my bad for the week. I appreciated the free press that our show got, but it's just one developer who designs bases and not weapons. That's all.
I think it's time to hear these feedbacks that you've been telling me about all week.
All right. You asked for it, and you will get it.
Oh, it's a perfect morning. Great timing. The mailman's just coming.
Morning. Here's the mail. Big bag. Later.
He must be in a hurry to get away. Very strange. What's this clicking sound. Going to take a look here in this bag of mail. Oh no!
Now you just open the Reachcast mail bag.
Yeah.
Call number 1.
Hello, Reachcast. Is Dr. Toilet again, and I'm sick. How great, right? Anyway, I'm calling you guys to ask you a really short question today. What is your favorite bug? Yeah, that's right. Your favorite bug and your least favorite. Just answer. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I really like those stick bugs.
I wonder if he's meaning game bugs, but
I'm talking about bugs.
He didn't clarify.
That's true. So let's talk about bugs.
I like stick bugs, and I hate wasps.
Okay.
Oh, any bee, wasp, anything like that, those do suck. They all need to just die in a fire. I hate those things.
I like stick bugs because I saw this kid at a baseball game put his hand on one, and then he just started bawling, and it was hilarious. It makes it sound really mean, but it was one of the most adorable things I've ever seen. He was having a good old time, and then he touches this thing, and it just, like, ruined his day.
What's your favorite bug, Deringer? And your least favorite?
I'm kind of impartial to the praying mantis myself.
Oh, that was my second choice.
Those things are just beastly looking at. When those things turn their head sideways and look at you, it's just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Except for the whole fact that the females eat the males. I don't know if I like that part.
Torkz, what about you?
Let's see here. I hate brown recluse, specifically if we're going to put spider.
Have you been bitten by one? Is that why?
Yeah. And, I would say I probably like
You know,
bees.
hold on. Are spiders considered bugs?
They are for this.
Okay.
I mean,
aren't they technically arachnids?
They are, but they're general family.
Okay, fine. We'll let you go. I'm sorry.
People think they're bugs. That's good enough.
Yeah, I think I like bees. I guess
you like bees?
They give you honey, dude.
They sting you.
Just don't give you honey. Bees do. So I'm totally on board with this one.
I think bees are really
wasps, the whole 9 yards. Hornets, they can all just burn in hell.
Well, hornets don't produce honey, but yeah. Anyways, we're really killing like a question that wasn't even intended to be answered this way. But on to call number 2.
Hey, this is Mono, guys. I figured I'd give you a call because you're all like, oh, call in. You know, no one called because no one left a message for Noxx. So I just wanted to call and just say, I don't know why you guys even brought him back. I thought, you found a scapegoat. And, you pushed him out to the devs out in California, and you finally got rid of him. And next thing I know, I'm listening to the show, and here he is. All right, well, I just wanted to say he came back and he did something pretty ballsy, doing something all, it took a lot of balls to talk about that kind of stuff on your show. I don't know how I feel about that. I think he should be writing some books like Twilight or something. No, but seriously, good job, Noxx. It was very very entertaining. I was laughing right along with you. I'm very interested to see what the other guys come up with. But in my preference, I would just, like a field report or something that, is just pretty dry, not so detailed, not so much like a short story. But good job anyway. Thanks, guys.
Twilight.
My favorite part of that was that took some ball. I think his accent, balls, like it's balls. Yeah, I like that. All right.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm back.
Call number 3.
Wait, he said
hey, Reachcast. This is Steve. It's the guy who suggested what you guys are calling stories from the Battlefield segment. And Noxx, I got to tell you, that story was not what I was expecting. Not that I didn't enjoy the story. Quite the contrary. I found it hilarious. I mean, you made me feel so guilty. I mean, you acted so disgruntled and depressed about reading the story until you actually started reading it. And then, it became obvious that, you put your heart and soul into it and loved it. And I can't wait to hear what Torkz and Deringer bring to the table. Oh, anyway, eye for an eye. I'll give you a little story of my own. I love gunning from a Liberator, I used to until the new patches came out. And when I first started, I had a really hard time finding good Liberator pilots that had like a Zephyr or Dalton equipped. So I figured you got to give some to get some. So I decked out my own Liberator and started picking up randoms to gun for me. Hoping that one of them had a decent Liberator and would be willing to take turns piloting with me. But that was a lot easier said than done. It struck me one day, like what I was doing was a lot like dating. I'd pick someone up, we'd go out, we'd have fun, and then when we'd move out to refit and repair, I'd pop the question. I'd be like, hey, you ever pilot a Liberator? And 9 times out of the 10, usually the response was something like, nah, man, I can't fly, or yeah, but it's a stock Liberator. So, from my point of view, it's pointless continuing that relationship. So I would start this long, silent, awkward trip back to the warp gate, and the whole time the gunner would be asking questions like, hey, where are we going? The fight's the other way. And I'd be too embarrassed to tell him the truth, but too nice to leave him stranded. And but eventually I couldn't stand that awful trip back, so I just started burning rubber out of there, thinking that would make it better. Just leaving the gunner stranded. But sometimes it was worse because I'd be flying away and I'd hear them call out to me like, hey man, you forgot me. It was brutal, It felt like I was abandoning my dog or something. So but hey, like all good love stories, I eventually found some players that fit the bill. So if there's any listeners out there that are in a similar situation, my advice would be you gotta give some to get some, and keep looking. There are other Liberator pilots out there who are, willing to switch rules. Reachcast guys, I love your podcast. It's a great product that you produced, and I really enjoy it. Take it easy.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I met my wife.
I thought he was going to say, so if there's anyone else out there looking for a Liberator pilot, a single white male.
SWM seeks Lib pilot, Dalton preferred, Zephyr Cert.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
I really like this little story, the follow-up. That was good. Now, on to call number 4.
Hey guys, this call is about Noxx's story in last week's podcast. I wanted to say I didn't expect to be moved by it, but I was. You guys broke my hearts, man. 8 dead mag riders? Oh my god. The horror. The horror. This is Brett. I play with Ghosts of the Revolution on Matherson. Great podcast. Thanks, guys.
I'm with him.
I love that. That was awesome. The horror. The horror.
Broke his heart.
You moved him.
All right, this last call has some questions for us, so I might have to pause it partway through because there's a number of questions. But call number 5.
Hey, Reachcast, it is Red Oak. Question for you this week is, Planetside 1, I've heard, is ahead of its time, or was ahead of its time. Is Planetside 2 launching right where it should be, or is it ahead of its time, or has it passed where it should have been launched? Specifically in terms of the community, the people who are playing it historically, way back, we've been waiting years for big updates to games, for games to come into what they should be as a prime. For example, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, the old school ones. It seems like now a lot of people can't even wait a month between major patches without quitting or losing interest as a whole.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there because that's the first kind of segment of question that we could take. So, from what I understand, the question is, do we think Planetside 2 was released at the correct time with the correct amount of completion? And do we think that people
I took that more as, rather than completion of the game, rather than is the technology and the community ready for this sort of game, or is it is this the right time period? Did I misinterpret that?
No, I think that's fine too. I think it's kind of you can interpret that question a little bit because he kind of weaved around it a little bit. Well, answer it. It's you phrased it. Why don't you answer it the way you asked?
Okay. Well, I was actually thinking about this just the other day, in terms of the community and people not wanting to wait a month for a patch, because what I was thinking is I feel like a lot of gamers nowadays feel like when they play a game, and this is partly to the fault, I think, of some of the publishers, is they make the games this way, that it becomes a commitment to where you play that game and that game alone. And if you feel that way about this game, then I could totally understand not wanting to wait a month for something you consider to be crucial to have fun. And I think, like, in that regard, so is it released at the right time with the right community attitude? I would say no. But in terms of technology, yes.
All right. Deringer.
Yeah, you'd have to come to me. I don't have a clue.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but Red Oak, your question was all over the map, and I'm afraid I don't really even know what the heck you were asking. I mean, is Planetside ahead of its time? Or I played the original Planetside 1. The original Planetside 1 was just an amazing game that no one expected, no one realized the potential that that thing had. And that game was definitely ahead of its time. I don't think that Planetside 2 is ahead of its time. I think this is the type of game that people are expecting to have out at this particular junction in the life of games itself. Granted, it's the only one that's as big as it currently is, so maybe it's the top of the pack or cream of the crop of the first-person shooter games. But I don't know that Planetside 2 is ahead of its time like Planetside 1 was. I hope I answered your portion of that part of the question. I don't really think I have an opinion or really understand the other questions that you were asking.
I feel like Planetside 2 is not ahead of its time in its release. I think its approach to its community and its patching might be a little bit unconventional, different than other games that are currently released. You can go back to our interview with T-Ray if you want to get he explains in later part of the interview what their model of release was and how they wanted to handle it. I like the community involvement in the game. I like the fact that they're heavily involving the community and what content they do release. So as far as that's concerned, I think it's going to take some adaptation from the community to be that involved in the development of the game and to do it constructively without resorting to the norm of the internet.
Well, someone has to be first and has to really create that sort of culture of,
I like
kind of what they're doing. I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's kind of heading towards the future. So in that regard, it's way ahead of its time. But that's a good thing.
I think we're taking, I hope we answered the question all right, but I think we're taking it all over the place. Let me continue the rest of the call. There's a number of questions we need to get to.
Also in terms of the technology, their engine and how they're updating it, in terms of, is it updated enough? Is the optimizations good enough? Are they quick enough? And is it enough for the people that they're targeting to play the game? Is it too strict? Is it too powerful as an engine? And lastly, in terms of the game industry as a whole, is the free-to-play FPS market, are they putting it out right where it should be? Is it too soon, too early? And the FPS market as a whole, does this game fit well with the time period about what people are thinking with FPSs and what people are feeling with FPSs? And yeah, that's it. Anyway, thank you very much, and have a good podcast.
Hearing the rest of that makes me think it's something we could talk about for an hour.
Yeah.
Let me condense that to something. Is the FPS crowd that's currently out there ready for this game? Ready for the way this game is being handled? Ready for this versus other FPSs and the norm of FPS? How about we answer that? I'm hoping that helps sum it up a little bit.
I kind of had an idea what I was going to say when he was talking. And it will be an answer to that question too. But continuing on from what I was saying before, in terms of it was something about is it players, are they ready for it? Wasn't that what it was? I wish you could play it again, but you already played through. Okay.
I can play it again. That's fine. I don't
want to make it bigger than it is.
Let's not take it too far. But is this FPS game? Is the community ready for this kind of FPS and the way this FPS is being handled by this company? Let's say that.
See, I want to say no. Simply because gamers right now, kind of touching on earlier statements, is they don't want to wait for patches, and I don't think a lot of players understand the work that goes into these things. I don't think they understand like the amount of effort that it takes, and like, yeah, there's a lot of things on this list, but they're not everybody on the team can do all of these things. It takes a large group of people to get one thing done, from artists to coders to designers. And I don't think that this game is too early in that regard, because they're the first people, like Command Center a couple weeks ago, to really open up and show that process of what it takes to do it. And I think as it happens, more players, maybe they'll start educating players, and players will start understanding this sort of thing that goes into the work involved in making certain updates and certain patches. And someone has to be the first. So I think it's a good thing. I think it might hurt it a little bit, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think good things will happen.
All right. Do you have an opinion on it, Deringer?
I think yes, players are ready for this type of game. No, I don't know that they're ready for the release schedule that the devs have set for it. I'll just keep it as simple as that.
That's a good answer.
All right. We have a couple emails I'm going to get through real quick. The first one is from Sean. Sean writes, as iPad, Dear Reachcast, first of all, thank you for your great podcast. This is now a regular weekly listen for me. I want to say thanks, Sean. I greatly enjoyed Noxx's short story in your last episode. I think he captured the epicness and excitement of the battle very well. And I also love the reoccurring theme of darkness. Noxx is really into darkness.
Just wait till the next one.
Oh boy. I look forward to hearing Deringer's and Tork's stories in the near future. I think Deringer followed up with a very, very well-written story this week.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you guys a heads up on a fan fiction forum at the Planetside Universe site, and I will supply the link that he provided me in the show notes. For anybody else that's liking what we're doing with the stories in the battlefield, this is a site he's pointing us to or providing for you guys that also has people writing short stories for the lore of the game. On the email, where several people have been writing PS2 short stories similar to what you've been reading out on the show. Could you give a shout out about it? I absolutely can, as currently we don't have a lot of people reading or commenting on the stories. Maybe you could put your short stories on there as well. I have no problem as long as Noxx and Deringer agree to put them on there as well.
I'll have to edit mine a bit, but yeah.
I kind of cheated. So mine will be in audio form because it's pre-recorded with effects and everything else. So I will admit that it is kind of cheating, but I am trying. I was trying to give our sound guy a chance to get involved, and he said he's really interested. So
I say you're a cheater, but I think it'll be a fun approach. I look forward to it.
I am interested to see what he has. He has not finished yet. We already recorded the audio, the vocals, but he has not finished with the background and the effects. So
maybe I'll sabotage him so you have to read it live.
It's I'm interested to hear what he does with it. But there is one last part of this email that I didn't want to get to because Sean asked a very good question. I also have one general question about the PS2 backstory. Do you think that it would be interesting if the devs tried to expand the backstory of PS2 from the very limited background that they have given us so far? For example, stories about how the war started, the origins of the new conglomerate and Vanu sovereignty, or stories of pivotal battles from the front lines. Do you think the backstory is enough as it is to enjoy the game, or do you think more stories would change anything for you? I think I read that incorrectly. More stories could change anything for you. So would more stories help? What do we think more lore is necessary is what I'm collecting from that whole paragraph. Thanks, and keep up the good work, Sonny. So thank you, Sonny, for the email. I think it's a really good question, and I would love to answer it. I'll let the Deringer, why don't you answer it real quick as well?
Well, I'm a fan of lore. Before we even started doing this podcast, I went through and found, not this particular one, but the podcast in general. I dug up everything I could find on the original lore, and there was actually some decent stuff out there on the Planetside Universe site, where a post and a half of just all different kinds of lore on the original Planetside too. I don't know that they can really do anything on major battles because obviously it's a perpetual war. So I don't know what they could really do with that. But I'm all for adding more lore. Give us some more main characters, give us some more info on what some of these server names are based off of, things like that. I would be interested in to read some kind of stuff like that from them.
They could even incorporate like various layouts of maps with battles, though. Which, if they like explained a map's layout because of various happenings in the past, that could be interesting. It might be a lot of work, or it could ruin balance of the map.
Noxx and I, it's really odd. I'd forgotten all about this email until I was doing prep for the show. But Noxx and I, as it happens, had a discussion about this just today.
No, don't give spoilers now. Oh man.
No, not the not that part.
Okay.
Just the discussion about since this is a player-generated content game, I don't see why that would not extend into the lore of the game. Why? I would find it extremely cool if we had Sony-approved player or community-written lore.
That's right, Tales of the Battlefield's going into the lore, baby.
Not quite.
That's why Yellow 420 Dubstep is going to be famous.
I would think it would be really cool if the community could pass content by Sony, and Sony could say, okay, the overarching lore, this makes sense and this fits well, and have more foresight and be able to take those things and integrate them. So someone could write, per se, an amazing epic battle between 8 different outfits on. You don't have to pick the server because that really kind of destroys the what's the word I'm looking for here? Whatever, the involvement in the game, you
don't want to make it sound like it's a video game, but you
exactly,
want to
yeah,
apply to the video game.
I think you could take elements from in-game experiences and apply them and further the lore of this game, and integrate and combining those two things together could make a really awesome community and game. So that's my answer to that. I hope it helps. Will it happen? If I have anything to say about what my little bit of opinion matters to Sony, it will. But because I'm just walking in demanding.
Slam your fist on the desk. Listen here, guys.
That's my opinion. I'm not sure what Sony has in the plans, but I'd be more than happy to share this with them if they're not already listening. But that's my idea on that. And that is all from Sean. Thank you for the email, Sean. We have one last email before we get to contact information for the night, guys. And that is from Kurt AA. Kurt AA asks, says, loving the podcast so far, even if you represent the dirty space Republicans. I just found out about the contest currently ongoing in the Reddit forums. He's referring, guys, to the contest we'd run a while back about sending in content. It is over now, unfortunately. Sorry, Kurt. Why not the PS2 forums? I have no idea. Even though I did not submit this in time for the contest, I thought you might be interested in how I envision the new mission system to work. And also, it's his first YouTube video, he says. And I watched this, and I will say I'm extremely happy with the way he explains the mission system, and it mirrors exactly how I hope it's implemented as well. And I swear he must have read my mind when he made this video, and that's why we're going to put it in the notes, and I hope you guys check it out because I think it's pretty cool.
I hope he linked it in the discussion topic on the 6-month plan.
It's probably your doppelganger.
Yeah. But that's it from that. So thank you, Kurt, and thank you, Sean. We will, that's all we have for the ReachCast mailbag. And we're going to go, to our normal thing, the thank yous before we get to the contact info. I'm going to say Desmodo, thank you. Dr. Toilet, thank you. Red Oak, Steve, Brett, Sean, Kurt, Buccaneer, and Blue Eyed Illusions. Thank you guys for your contributions. If we missed your name, I apologize. Anybody else that's contributed to the show this week. Then, last but not least, contact info. There's a couple small changes here, as we mentioned earlier in the show. The website's still the same currently. It's imperialreach.com, podcast up in the banner. You can get us on iTunes and Stitcher. If you're using Stitcher with us, please thumbs up us, put us to your favorites list. The more you thumbs up us, the more it helps us be exposed on the Stitcher list, helps us pick up listeners, and helps us expand the show, so that we appreciate that. You can email us at reachcastshow@gmail.com. That's the new one, reachcastshow@gmail.com. Call us at 415-78-REACH or 415-787-3224. On Twitter, I am ReachCastShow.
Oh, gosh. I'm zoning out. I'm Noxia, Noxxia.
And I am the Deringer.
Twitch info, Noxx?
Twitch info. Twitch.tv/ReachCast. I've been streaming a lot more lately. Sometimes you might catch me streaming something like Walking Dead.
Heresy stuff, though.
Without by accident.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
We had something else we didn't mention at the beginning that I really want to say. Please pay attention. We have a new YouTube channel. It's YouTube/user/ReachCast Media. And we have a guy helping us out by the name of Reaction Shot, also named Drew. He did a great job on the first video. He took episode 17 and put some good video to it. He is going to continue to do YouTube videos, versions of these episodes. So we want to say thank you, Reaction.
I think they're going to be a little less video intensive in terms of matching content to video content, right?
Correct.
Yes, it took a lot of time for him.
Correct. We're going to
still appreciate it.
Our goal is to have these out and done with full video Tuesday nights.
You put a lot of work into that last one.
Yes, he did. It's nice. It's well worth a watch.
By no means demand of him.
Last but not least, as always, I want to say thank you to the rest of the ReachCast crew that doesn't get heard on the show. Steve, Cliff, John, and Drew. That's without you guys, a lot of the stuff we would not be able to do. That's it for the show. As always, everyone have a good week.
LGB, anyone from the Lou knows.
And don't forget to get your T-shirts. 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 Your T-shirts.